So I see a lot of, I don't know if you can call them athletes, but I see a lot of bodybuilders take steroids, and the thing with that is their excuse for taking steroids is like not that good. Their reasoning most of the time is, oh, because I've peaked naturally, and that's like, peaking naturally, that takes a whole lifetime to do. Now, unless you're Captain America, which no one is, I don't think you could ever actually peak naturally, because there's a whole realm of things to peak on naturally. Now, if we're talking about muscle mass, peaking in muscle mass, that takes over a decade probably to actually peak your mass potential. For example, most bodybuilders, most steroid users take steroids around the 2 to 4 year mark, saying, oh, I've peaked naturally. Now, they usually have really aesthetic and athletic bodies, and as soon as they take steroids, they have a huge amount of mass and everything, which negatively actually affects their health because of BMI reasons. And then you just see how much mass they have, and that creates like a negative feedback loop because they want even more muscle mass and therefore even more steroids. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show what peak natural actually is. Now we can discuss in terms of muscle mass. One big name that comes to mind is actually Alex Leonidas. I don't know if that's actually how you spell his name, so I'll just say Alpha Destiny. Now, if you look at him, that guy is jacked, he's lean, he has tons of muscle mass. And I think he can still build muscle. Like, even he says that. Even he thinks he can build muscle. He's always continually improving every year. He's always going on bulks, cuts, and he's always gaining mass and losing that fat, which in conjunction means he has more muscle overall. Now, if you look at his body, you would think he's on steroids. Well, he isn't. Mainly because not only is he obviously against steroids, but he has crafted and he has documented his whole journey of building his body to what it is today. Now, if Alex is one of the probably peak naturals, he is probably one of the pinnacle of being natty and peaking, but even then he can still improve. And what even is peak natty in terms of muscle mass? You always build muscle, no? You will never stop building muscle as long as you're reaching failure. As long as you're giving muscle stimulation, then you can actually technically never peak naturally because you will always be able to build muscle. Plus, you're never going to train perfect, are you? You're never going to hit the right amount of muscle fibers, you're never going to do perfect form, you're never going to hit all those exercises that hit all those muscles. So you can't really actually peak naturally, which makes the excuse of, oh, I peaked natty, even worse. Another name that comes to mind is probably Vitruvian Physique. He's got a really good physique. Not peak natty, I mean, who am I to judge, but he has a really good physique. Who wouldn't be happy with physiques like Alex and Vitruvian Physique? Next, let's talk about athletic physiques. Actual peak natties. One I would consider is obviously David Goggins. His endurance is insane. Not only his endurance, because he can run freaking far, but his muscular endurance, that's proven through his pull-up records and how many push-ups he can do, and his mentality. Now, you can't tell me he's not a peak natural. Even then, he's always improving. As a natural, you're always improving no matter what, which means that although David Goggins doesn't have peak natural muscle, he has almost peak natural endurance. He has peak natural mentality. And honestly, given his mentality, I would think he would be honest if he was on steroids or testosterone, which is why I think he's natty. Now, let's talk about another realm. Let's talk about Leon Edwards, MMA fighter. I think he has a really aesthetic and athletic body. Yes, thank you Mario Rios for giving me that idea. But I think he's a peak nutty in the way he can fight. You know? Athletic, yet good muscle mass. Functional muscle. That's exactly what a peak daddy would be in terms of being athletic yet looking good. So given that we also have different body types, I think Tanner Shuck is a good example of what a natty would look. Who wouldn't be happy with a body like that? Why would you need to take steroids if you have a body like that? So this excuse of, oh, we've peaked naturally is really bad. Anyway, thanks for watching.